And I actually am in another meeting preparing to leave on Wednesday for the launch of Girls Fly Europe from France. Next year, we plan to be in Pakistan live, but in the meantime, we have an amazing team with Girls Fly in Pakistan that's been putting together this speaker series. And today is one of those special days with our special guest. And we're glad that you're here. Stand by, we're going to be starting shortly. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, I'm back again. So I'm here in Ohio in the United States, and I'm communicating with the rest of the Girls Fly team. I'm waiting as well for our special guest to join us today. It's come to my attention that there might be some emergency, some circumstance. They're having a hard time reaching her. So we're going to give it, if you don't mind, let's just give it 2 more minutes and see if she responds. And is able to come on screen. And if not, then I'll regret having to say we'll have to reschedule, but I'm hoping everything's okay for her. So 2 more minutes, stand by. Thank you.
Hi, Gail, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much. We're so glad I'm glad to see you. Thank you very much for being here.
No
The audience has been very enthusiastic about having you as a guest. So I'm going to turn it over to you so you can commence, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And thank you everyone for your patience. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for waiting. I'm so sorry I'm so late. I will just share my slides. One sec. Okay. Okay, I hope you can see and I hope you can hear me. Can someone confirm?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start with like an introduction. So my name is Maryam Javid. I'm going to be giving you guys this session on Erasmus Mundus Master's programs. I'll give you a brief intro first. So I'm originally from Karachi, but I've spent most of my life in Islamabad in Pakistan. I did my undergraduate in psychology from Bahia University, Islamabad, in 2023. After that, I worked as a mental health researcher for a year till 2024. And then in September of this year, I joined a fully funded Erasmus Mundus master's program. It's called Global-MINDS, which stands for Psychology of Global Mobility, Inclusion, and Diversity. And it's basically like a Master's of Science program in social and cultural psychology. So, like most Erasmus Mundus Masters programs, it's a 2 year program and it has like 4 semesters with every semester in a different country. So, I'm currently in Lisbon, Portugal. And then I will let you guys know more about the program as we go on to the programs page for Erasmus Mundus. So, just like a brief flow of what the session will be like, we'll first discuss what EMJMD or Erasmus Mundus Master's programs actually are. We'll see how you should begin your Erasmus application, what's the first step, how you can find the right program for you, and then like a basic list of requirements that you would need. And I will like briefly detail on the requirements that you need, what you should focus on for them. I'll then let you know about scholarship information, how you can increase your chances of a scholarship, and then I'll let you know of some networking possibilities. So first, I'd like to ask you guys, what do you know about Erasmus or this term EMJMD? So anyone can like open their mic and answer. What do you guys know about this? Okay, I'm assuming that means that no one really knows much. That's fine. Um, so EMJMD really stands for Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree. And like I said, it's generally a 2 year program with every semester in a different country. But of course, every program really varies in the type of countries that it has, in the program structure that it has. And then it's not necessary that all of the Erasmus Mundus programs are funded because funding really depends on the European Union. And some programs, they don't get a funding for a year. And so for that year, every student has to pay for themselves. So that's also some information that you can see when you open a program website, which I'll show you how to do in a while. And then the applications, they're usually open from mid-October, so any day now. Some programs, they have actually opened their applications, and then the applications are open till the end of December or like the second week of January. And there used to be a limit to the number of applications you could give. It used to be 3 applications, but now there's no limit, so you can send any number of applications. And that usually means that you can apply to multiple programs. So the first things first, the first step is getting into the right mindset. And the right mindset basically means applications are a very stressful process, right? You're constantly comparing yourself to others. You're having multiple breakdowns. You're thinking, why did I not start research when I was 10 years old? It's very stressful, and that's totally understandable. But honestly, there's no getting around it. You just have to focus on your application, on the program you're applying for. You have to focus why are you applying for that program? You know, what makes it so interesting for you? You need to focus on your motivations, your career, and hopefully you can get through the application process. But it's also really important to keep yourself in check, your mental health in check. If you're not sleeping, if you're not having food, if you're not having proper water, then it's going to be really hard for you to work on a nice application. So take care of yourself first, and then we'll begin with the application. So first of all, you need to find the right program. For that, there is this Erasmus Mundus catalog, which has a list of all of the programs that you can apply to. I've put the link in the slides over here, which I'll send to you guys later on. But I'll just show you what the catalog actually looks like. So if you can see my page, this is the catalog page. It has 189 programs right now, and it also has an option for a filter. But I would recommend that you guys don't use the filter for now, because as you can see, the names for each program, they're very specific, right? They're not like normal names like a master's in this, in engineering and business. They're very specific programs. So if you put in a filter, there's a very big possibility that you might miss out on a program that's relevant to you. So I would suggest go through all of these programs, just look at their titles, and if you think that there's something that is a bit relevant to your background, that it kind of interests you, then you should open that page, okay? So there is a page where you can open on the Erasmus Mundus website itself. And then there's also a separate website for each program, which you can open from here. So I'll show you guys the page for my program. This is the page for Global-MINDS. So as you can see, they've given like a little summary about what the program is about, what kind of students are they looking for, what are their career prospects, what are the countries that are involved in this. And so this is just like a basic information of what the program is about. So once you find a program that you think is okay, a bit interesting, you've seen the summary, you think that you want to know more about this, or you want to maybe apply to this, then you open the website that they've given on the page. So this, if you can see the page, this is the website for the Global-MINDS program. Over here, you can really dive into what the program is actually about. It's really helpful. They've given all of the content that you'll study, every single course that you're going to do. They have like a structure of what pathways you can go through. So by pathways, we mean in Global-MINDS, if any of you are interested in applying to Global-MINDS, then there's different paths that you can choose. Each path, it studies, it specializes on a different topic. The degree is the same. It's all social and cultural psychology. But for instance, in Path A, you're focusing more on culture and diversity. In Path B, you're focusing more on mobility and society. And in Path C, you're focusing more on inclusion and health. And that will really determine which countries you're going into. So for Path A, you're first going to be in Portugal, then in Ireland, and then your internship and your thesis can be anywhere you want. For Path B, you'll first be in Poland, then in Norway, and then again, internship and thesis anywhere. And then for Path C, you'll be in Poland and Ireland, and then your internship and thesis wherever you want. So this is like some details on what the paths actually are, if you guys are interested. And then the applications for the requirements and stuff, you can go into the application section. For participation costs and scholarships, as I think you guys might be interested more in that. So there is usually 3 types of fundings in every Erasmus program. You can either be a fully funded Erasmus scholar, which basically means that your tuition costs will be covered, and then you will also be given a monthly stipend for your living expenses, for your travel and stuff. And that's usually 1,400 euros. And then you can also be a partially scholarship student, where your tuition is covered, but you're not given any living expenses. Or you can be a what's it called, like a self-funded student, where you have to pay for everything yourself. And that kind of scholarship, it really depends not just on the funding that the program has, but also on your ranking within the applicants that have applied. And this is usually the same for different Erasmus programs. But like, for instance, in Global-MINDS, you have 10 full scholarships, 15 partial scholarships, and then I think 11 places for self-funded students. So that can vary for every program. We will also see how to apply later on. But as you can see, the application period for this program for 2025 intake has opened. So you can apply now. These are some basic requirements: that you have to have a degree. And if you're completing your degree, then you should have like a letter that states that. You should have an English language competency. So we'll see all of those requirements in a while. These are just the basic requirements that are required by most of the Erasmus programs. there might be some programs which require a bit more, or there might be some that don't require some of these. If you have a program in mind and there is a requirement that you're not sure about that I haven't talked about over here, then you can send it in the chat box, and at the end of the session I'll see the chat box, and then we can answer questions then. So first of all, let's see the English language competency. This certificate is usually required even if you have been in a university where you were taught in English. So they generally do require a certificate, and that's usually IELTS or TOEFL. And some programs, they also accept Duolingo test. So I gave the IELTS exam, so I'm going to be focusing more on the tips for that. For IELTS, I got an 8.5 out of 9 band, which I guess is pretty good. And I generally knew my level of English skills wasn't that bad, so I didn't have to go to IELTS classes. But if you think that you do need classes, then definitely go. I think they would be helpful. But what I did was I mostly used this book called the Barron's Test Preparation Book. I would recommend it. It just has like some tips and strategies for all of the modules in the IELTS exam, how you can answer them better. I wouldn't really recommend you get a book for the practice tests. And that is because if you are giving the IELTS on the computer, if your typing is faster, if you're giving it on the computer rather than on the paper, then all of your practice tests should be online. Because then you will be better prepared on test day. So I mostly used YouTube videos for preparation, and mostly for the listening, writing, and the speaking modules. I've added like a screenshot of the channel that I found the most helpful. So for the listening module, what I would do is there are lots of audio practice tests on YouTube, which I would listen to, and I would answer the questions as I went. And for writing, especially this channel, it has some really nice prompts from past papers, and it also gives you really good tips on how you can actually answer and structure your essay. And then for the speaking modules, not just this channel, but lots of other channels, they have videos where they're doing like a mock practice test with a candidate. And they show you what a speaking exam would look like for a band 9 candidate for every band. So I would just listen to that. I would listen to the examiner's questions, and then I would answer them myself. And then I would see, okay, what did the candidate say? I'd compare my answers. That was really helpful in like a self-diagnosis. And then the British Council database. So I registered with British Council. Although you can also register with IDP, it's mostly the same. But I really think that for IELTS, your actual practice, it really begins after you've registered for the test, because then British Council, it gives you like a database of practice tests, of test questions, of tips, and of sample answers. So I think those are really helpful. And for my database, I think I did like 7-8 practice tests in total, and that was fine for me. And then also the general online free practice test. So I would just go on Google and I would write free practice test, and anything that would come up, I would just do that for practice. So that was really helpful. As for the timeline, I think I booked the exam 2 weeks before the actual test. And so that was, I think, enough time for me to practice and prepare. But you should book your test based on what you think your language abilities are like. And you generally need like a minimum 6.5 score band for the IELTS test. And that's usually the case for most universities. And I think that's also the case for most Erasmus programs and for Global-MINDS. So moving on to the second, the letter of motivation or personal statement, which I think is one of the most important parts of your application. The reason why I've put a slash between them is because these are two very different things, but sometimes your program might ask you for just one. So the difference between the letter of motivation and a personal statement is, first of all, the letter of motivation, it's mostly about your study interest, your research interest, how you came about those interests, any classes you might have attended, any books that you might have read, and what your future career aspirations are, what you actually want to do in the future. So that is your letter of motivation. And then the personal statement is, I mean, like the name suggests, it's a bit more personal, where you talk about you. You talk about your own story, your own inspiration for applying to this program, what motivated you to pursue this field. So you're not really talking about the field as much as you're talking about yourself. For the Global-MINDS program, I know that they only required one. They only required the personal statement. I've attached like a screenshot of what they require. So it's basically like a supporting statement where you have to explain why are you a suitable candidate for the Global-MINDS program and the justification for which path you want to go on, and then to indicate whether you're also applying for a scholarship. So in this statement, I basically mixed both of the letter of motivation and the personal statement. So I did talk about my personal story, my personal inspiration, but I also talked about the field, what I want to do, why I want to do it, what I want my career to look like. So I, had like a mix of both in my statement. And that's fine depending on what your program asks for. So some tips that I have about your statement or your letter is don't go into detail on your sob story, right? So don't try to gain sympathy from the admissions committee. If you are applying because of a very personal reason, so for instance, you're a refugee, that's why you want to study migration, or someone in your family passed away, that's why you want to study health sciences maybe. And that's perfectly fine. That's great. Mention that if you want to. But the focus of the admissions committee is not on what happened to you, but on how you dealt with what happened to you. How did you rise above the situation? How did you use what happened in your life to actually make a difference in the world, to make things better for other people? So don't try to gain sympathy from them. And then do your own research. So I would really suggest that you go deep into what the program is actually about, what kind of student they're looking for. In the website, they usually have a section on what they want. So pick up some keywords from that and use that in your statement. And then also read the professor's research. You don't need to name drop the professor in your statement, but do kind of mention if there's like a topic that interested you that a professor worked on, then you can mention that this is a topic that I would like to work on. This is what I want to do with the topic. I want to study this further. So that's, really good. That shows them that you're actually serious for the program. And then the next is that every single sentence, every paragraph should have a purpose. So, since you're packing your whole life story into like a max 1.5 page statement, you have to be really sure that you're not using long sentences, you're not adding unnecessary details. So every single sentence that you're reading, every single word should have a meaning, it should have a purpose. If you think that something is a bit irrelevant, then just remove it, because that could actually harm your chances. And then you should follow an appropriate structure. So your statement or your letter, it should have a flow. Like we usually have in essays, there's an intro, there's a body paragraph, there's a conclusion. It should be similar to that. And usually the best flow is chronological. So like you follow your life story, you start with maybe like a personal story, what inspired you to step into this field. Then you talk about any researches, any experience that you've had, volunteer work, any classes that you've taken. So then that's like your main body. And then you talk about how did that experience motivate you to actually pursue this master's program? And then what do you actually want to do with this master's program? How can you use this for your career? How can you use this to make a difference, right? So that is an example of a structure that you could have, and that is also the structure that I used. And then you should take a second opinion, definitely. Have someone else reread it, and that someone should be someone who will give you critical advice. So I had all of my statements read by my sister, because I know that she doesn't really hesitate to tell me that when something I've written is trash. So if you have someone like that, definitely take their opinion. And then also, the starting is really the hardest part, right? Because starting your statement, I know, is really difficult, but I would suggest just write down anything and everything that comes to your mind onto your Google Doc, onto wherever you're writing it, because that's the best way to start. No matter how useless it is, just start writing, and then you'll probably see a structure forming as you go on. And then also start early. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to have like your whole statement written before you even apply, before you like the application's open. It's very hard, right? We have a million other things to take care of. But what I did was, when I was in uni, sometimes randomly I would just think that, okay, this experience is something that I think would be good in my personal statement. So I would just write that into my phone's notes app. Or I would think that, oh, this is the quality of myself that I would like to mention in my statement. So I would just write that. And then when I would sit down to write my personal statement, I would open that notes app. And it's not necessary that you write everything, but it's really helpful in giving you like an idea of what content you want in your personal statement. So I think that's really helpful in structuring it in your content. And then moving on, CV versus resume. So this is really important. First of all, you need to know the difference between a CV and a resume. And I usually, different programs, they ask for different things. My program, Global Minds, asked for a CV. So the difference is that a resume is really short, like it's maximum 1 page, and it's really, really specific to the program, to the job, or to anything that you're applying for. And a CV is generally longer, it has more experience, but that doesn't mean that you add every single volunteer work, every single internship in your CV, even if it's not relevant, right? So you really need to be specific, you really need to be selective in what you add in your CV. And so, second, the format really matters. This is really important because, first of all, don't add your picture into your CV or your resume if it's not required. If they haven't mentioned for you to add a photo, don't add it. And then also don't add colors in your CV. Don't try to, have one sentence here, have the other here. Like, don't mess with the design too much, because that's more confusing and it's more unprofessional. So a really helpful template that I saw is this Harvard CV template. I've added the link over here, and it has really good guidelines on how to structure your CV. And you can also follow the guidelines that it has for the words to use in your sentences. So your sentences that you're using to describe your experience or your education, they shouldn't be really long. They shouldn't be that, oh, I did this, or I helped with this. It should be really short, and it should start with like an action word. So it should be maybe like, organize the seminar with 20 people, 20 attendees, or design this project with a 10% turnover. So, very short. Start with an action word and try to keep numbers in it. It might be more easy to add numbers in it if you're in a business, a marketing degree, because then you have like a sales turnover stuff. But for me, it was a bit hard because I'm in psychology. So what I did was I tried to use so I did an internship at a psychological help center. So I just wrote that, okay, administered this test to 15 patients, or I observed the clinical sessions of 5 patients. So I usually, structured my sentences with that, but the CV template will really help you. And then for most Erasmus programs, they do require you to have a Europass CV template. And Europass, there's this link that I've added. Over there, you can basically make your profile. And in that, you add your work experience, your education, anything you want to add in your CV. And then it designs the CV for you. So this, excuse me, this screenshot that I've added on the slide, this is basically what my Europass CV looked like that I sent into the Global Minds program. So it's very simple, very short. This CV, I think, turned out to be like 2.5 pages. And then, yeah, let's go on to the next, recommendation letters. So you generally need 2 to 4 recommendation letters, and among them, it is recommended that at least 2 should be academic, and then the rest can be professional. What that means is basically for academic, your reference should be someone who knows you or who taught to you in an educational setting. So it could be your teacher, your professor, your supervisor, your HOD, it could be anyone. But you really should be selective in who you choose to be your reference. Um, don't try to choose someone who is very hard to contact. So it should be someone who you can, just randomly message on WhatsApp, because for recommendation letters, you're not really the one who's uploading the recommendation letters. You usually give them the email of your reference, and then the reference has to upload the recommendation letter by themselves. So if you're applying to lots of different programs, if you're applying to lots of different universities, then your reference should be someone who you can contact and say that, oh, can you upload the recommendation letter for this? Can you upload this recommendation letter over here? So, for instance, one of my reference was my HOD, and that was really difficult because they're not really that available. You can't really contact them on WhatsApp. At least that's what it was like for me. So I would have to send them an email, and it was a really long process, and it was very difficult. And your reference does not have to be someone really superior. You don't have to have an HOD or a dean or a rector just for the sake of it. The most important thing that they see is how much does that person know you. So if you're having some experience in your recommendation letter where they write that, okay, this Maryam worked for me with this, and she was really helpful, then that's more desirable, that's more useful rather than a dean writing your recommendation letter. And I know that in Pakistan, there's usually this trend that you have to write your own recommendation letter. The teacher asks you to write it yourself, and then you basically send it to them, and then they upload it. Um, that's fine if you are writing your own recommendation letter. Definitely don't praise yourself too much. Don't say that, oh, Maryam is amazing, Maryam did this for us. Make it very realistic, make it very short, because teachers don't write that much, right? So this is a sample that I found really useful. You just start with, okay, I highly recommend them, and then you should really mention an experience that you had with that teacher. So it could be that your class participation was maybe really good, that a class project that you did was good, or you did your thesis with them. So you can write that, okay, Maryam was really active in her class participation. Maryam helped other students as well during her thesis. Maryam came up with got lots of research ideas for her topic. So that's how you make it more realistic. And then lastly, I would say that whatever recommendation letter you're writing, have your reference look it over once, just so they can adjust anything, how what their title looks like, any words that they might not have used. And that's really helpful for you as well. And then, so other things, GRE, this is often optional, but I know that some programs do require the GRE. I did not give my GRE for the Erasmus program. I did eventually end up giving the GRE, but that was for another scholarship. So I would really recommend that you book it at least 1 month early, no matter how good you are, because the only way to have a good GRE score is practice. So for the math section, make sure you're very clear on the topics, on the techniques to do a question. For English, you should really focus on your vocabulary. What I did was I had little sticky notes. I would fold them in half. I would write a vocabulary word on top and then the meaning inside, and I would just use it as flashcards, right? So that was a really easy and cheap way to make flashcards. And then there's also lots of apps that help you practice the essays, the math questions, the English questions. So those are really helpful. And then a copy of your ID or passport is really required. And so you have to make sure that your ID or passport is not expired. If it is, then they do ask you to make a new one, and they won't accept your application until you make a new one. And then for educational documents, so they usually require your degree and your transcript, and they should always be in English. Some programs I know that, for instance, if the host university is in Paris, then they usually require you to have a French copy of your degree and transcripts as well. So look into that and prepare them beforehand. And if you're still doing your degree, then obviously it's fine if you have an interim transcript, or if you have like a letter that this person will complete the degree, and that's usually really helpful. And then some programs also require an HEC or a MOFA attestation. MOFA is Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So you should really see your program details beforehand, because these attestations, they take a lot of time. The MOFA attestation is very fast, it's like in one day, but HEC attestations take a lot of time. So first of all, make sure that you have your documents very early after you graduate. And then as soon as you get them, send them for attestation, just in case. Even if the program doesn't require it, just send it, because you might need it later on. You'll need it for your visa processes and stuff. So it's best to have it early. And then also, again, always keep your scans with you of unattested, attested documents. Always have your scans. You never know when you might need it. They might send you an email that, okay, this wasn't processed, we need this from you. So you should have your scans with you on maybe like a Google Drive on your laptop, whatever. And then a proof of residency is also sometimes required. This is basically just any bill. It could be a receipt which has your address on it. I just sent like a picture of a TCS package that I got, which had my address on it, and that worked. So it's not that big of a deal. Okay, and then we'll talk about the scholarship. So the funding, like I said, it really depends on the EU funding and the kind of funding categories that they have, whether they're offering like full scholarships, partial scholarships, and self-funded. And usually they require you to mention it in your personal statement. And if they do that, then just have one single paragraph for it. Don't try to mention it everywhere in your statement that, okay, I need the scholarship, I need the scholarship. Just have one paragraph. And in your paragraph, you should, what I did was I just mentioned that, whatever experience that I had, because of my career interests, because of my aspirations, this is why I believe I would make a good candidate for a fully funded Erasmus scholar. So that is what I mentioned. And also, like, consistency is key. A scholarship is awarded based on ranking, and your ranking is based on scores. So every single part of your application is scored. So for instance, your personal statement, it will have a score. If you have a good GPA, the higher it is, the higher score you will have. Your recommendation letters, they will have a score. So that's all the scores for your application package. And then you will also have scores for like your interview. And then they add that together and they have a ranking of all of the applicants. So the top few people will get the fully funded and then the partially funded. So every single part of your application needs to be strong. There's no such thing that, okay, my personal statement is not that nice, but it's okay because my GPA is high, that'll make up for it. Or, your GPA isn't that high, but that's fine because your reference letters will make up for it. It's not like that. Every single part of it has to be really good. And then also, when you're mentioning in your personal statement or in your interview, you should really make sure, again, not to go into detail on the sympathy thing. Don't try to mention a lot that, okay, I come from not a very privileged household, I come from a low socioeconomic class, because this is a merit-based scholarship, not a need-based scholarship. So if you're constantly mentioning that, oh, I need the scholarship because of this, I need the scholarship because I don't have money, that's not gonna attract the admission committee to you. You need to highlight why you're a good student, which is why then you will get the scholarship. And then also, just subtly, I would say, just subtly mention in the personal statement that I probably would not be able to pursue this program if I wouldn't get a scholarship. Don't make it like into a really big thing that, oh, I really need the scholarship. But just so that they take you a bit more seriously, just so that they have a little bit of an idea of your circumstances. Just mention it really subtly. So that's really helpful in your scholarship. And then for networking, I would say they definitely do look at your LinkedIn profile. You usually add a link to your LinkedIn profile on your CV or your resume, or they ask you for it when you're applying. And they definitely do look into your LinkedIn profile. So updating it is worth it. For your picture, you should have like a nice professional picture with your face properly showing. If you do the hijab, that's perfectly fine. It should just be very professional. And then also for your experiences, for your education, make sure you have like small one liners of what you did in that education or what you did in that job. That will definitely be helpful. And that's usually similar to like what you added in your CV. So you can just add that same thing to your LinkedIn profile. And for the biography section, also, I would say that use the keywords that the program has on their website. So if they're looking for someone, really interested in social issues, in climate change, then you can add those keywords into your biography that, okay, I'm really interested in pursuing this, I'm really interested in studying this. So that will really increase your chances. And then also, networking and connecting with other people is really important. So you can connect with your alumni from the program, with current students, you can ask them questions, but you really need to make sure that you're asking for guidance in a very specific way. Ask them really specific questions. Don't just contact them saying that I'm looking for guidance. Because consider it from the perspective of someone else, right? They don't know anything about you. They don't know what you know about the program. They don't know how much you've worked on your application. So if you just say that I need guidance, it's going to be really confusing, right? So ask them specific questions. What I did was I asked that, okay, this is my personal story and this is how it relates to my inspiration for this program. So do you think I should start my personal statement with this? Or I would say that, okay, this is my experience. Do you think that it's relevant? Can I phrase it this way? So these are like the specific things that I would ask for. And also, keep in mind etiquette. Like, you don't have to be really formal when talking to someone else. You don't have to say stuff like, oh, it's my honor to talk to you, or thank you so much for responding, because that's just a bit too formal, at least for me. But talk to them like you would to a normal person, right? Just say that, okay, hey, how are you doing? How's your program going? Is there any difficulties that you think that I should be aware of before applying for the program? So just talk to them in a really good manner, in a very normal way, but it should be obviously professional. Don't talk to them like they're like casual friends. And also, like, be mindful of the time difference because they might be in different countries. So don't just bombard them with messages. You actually wait for them. They might be really busy. And then that brings me to like my last point, which is that you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. If you're looking for guidance, that's great, but please ask specific questions. Or you can also contact me on my email over here. And I'll be open to guidance. If you want me to read your personal statements, your CV, I'd be happy to do that as well. Hopefully, I will have the time and space to do that. And then, yeah, I can open the floor for any questions if there are any. So please. Okay, will we be email these slides for future reference? Yes, definitely. I will email them to the facilitator. I'll send them to the facilitator, and then hopefully they can send them to everyone else.
Uh,
Yeah, please, Abdul.
uh, Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, Maryam, I'm currently doing an MPhil from Punjab University. It will be completed in a month in a few months, and I'm interested in applying for Erasmus Mundus. But what I'm thinking at this point is that should I talk about my MPhil degree uh, and the application process, or should I just talk about my BS program, which I did from FC College. So, what
Okay,
would you suggest?
so you're looking for a second master's, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, no, that's great. You can mention that. And lots of people who pursue Erasmus Mundus master's programs, it is their second master's. There are like two, three people in my program as well who are doing their second master's. So definitely mention that. But in your personal statement, you should be really careful to mention why did your current master's not fulfill your needs. You should mention that, okay, in my current master's I have learned this, but there is a gap. I still want to learn more about this program. Mention specific aspects of the topic that you're interested, and then that will be your justification for why you want to pursue a second master's. And so if you are doing a second master's, they generally will target that. They will ask you specific questions. Why do you want to do a specific master's if you already have one? So you should be prepared for those questions, right? You should actually have a need to do a second master's.
All right. What I'm currently like doing is, and I'm doing my MPhil in English literature. And I, before like even starting this program, I applied to Chevening last year. I couldn't get in, but I, I mean, I'm doing. It is almost complete, but I'm still like stuck in the process. That because I wanted right at the end of my BS in English literature that I want to do something, because I had an experience of 1 year of teaching in school and colleges. There I realized that what I aim to do in future, uh, the English degree won't help me in that, because well, I want to serve in the education sector, but then just being a teacher, I think that is a very limited. I can like reach out to limited number of students, but the need that I see in my area back in hometown is like larger than that. So I'm thinking of like doing something that can help me reach out to as many people as I can. So just teaching at a school, at a college, teaching to maybe 50, 60 students, I don't think so that would be like sufficient. So I'm currently like doing courses, Google certificate courses, uh, to somehow show that I am interested in uh, going for a career change from literature to something in like the development sector,
Okay, yeah,
policy
that's a
and
great
development sector.
motivation. Like you said, that you do feel the gap, right? You do feel the need to change your career, and you're also doing courses for that. So that's a really good motivation for why you want to do a second master's degree. So if you mention in not just your personal statement, but also your interview, that I was doing this degree but it's not fulfilling. I would like to make a larger impact in the educational sector. And I think that this program will help me make that impact. If you do mention that, then it should not be a problem.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Okay, Roma Fatma.
Hi, Maryam. So I just had this question that I am a lawyer and I want to pursue a master's in of law. So the issue is that I am currently working in the field of technology law and I want to pursue like a master's degree related to that. But the master's degree that is being offered related to that has this like language issues, because the degree is being offered in France and Spain, like a few modules of that degree. So I will need to have like a language proficiency in that language. So is it a good idea to apply for like a master's in some other field such as international law or like cultural heritage or something just for the sake of it? I don't know, maybe because I really wanted to apply for Erasmus and I like the aspect of the like the cultural exchange and how you get to like know people from different cultures, and you really get to like go to different countries to pursue each different module, and it's like a whole new level of experience as compared to Fulbright or say Evening. So what would you say in response to that?
So you mentioned that there was a program that you were interested in, but there's a language issue. So did the
Yeah.
program say that you would need to learn the language?
Yes, I read the requirements, and it was like a really high proficiency level that was required, because maybe the course will be taught in that language. I think C1 or B2 something. Istaka, there was something like that. So I think, and I just researched a bit on it, and I got to know that it will take a lot of time to get to that level of proficiency. And I wanted to pursue my masters now, since I have been in like my professional journey for past 2 years now. So yeah.
Okay, so generally I speak from my experience, generally for Erasmus Mundus programs, they are mostly in English. Some courses, they can be in the local language, but for that, they do offer language courses. They do prepare you beforehand. And those are included in the scholarship in the master's package. So just look into that first of all. But if there is like a situation where you do need to have a really high proficiency in the language in order to learn, and so English speakers can't go, in that case, then yeah, you probably might need to apply for a different program. And then since the program will be a bit different from what you're doing right now, from your research interest, then you too will need to justify why you're making a little bit of switch like that. It's still law, but you can justify that maybe in your current job you recognize that there is this problem in this field of law which I want to overcome through this program. So I hope that makes it like a bit clearer for you.
Yeah, it does make sense, but the program that I wanted to pursue, that had the language requirements as the entry requirements. So I believe this will be the case, that I will need to like have a proficiency in that language to be eligible to apply to that program, right?
Okay, yeah, that's right. Because some programs do require you to have to know the language, and that is usually kind of unfortunate, because then the only people that they're attracting are people in the European section. So it is unfortunate, but I'm sure you can go for another master's program that will be more interesting to you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And other than that, I had just one question. I was unable to attend the earlier part of the session, but I just wanted to know that is there any requirement to come back to your home country after completing your masters, like in like Scheveningen or Fulbright? You have to come back to your home country for around like 2-3 years.
Yeah, no,
If you could
there's no
answer.
such requirement like that. You can stay in whichever country you are. You can go to a different country. There's no requirement. There are lots of people who get jobs in the institution where they were studying, or they pursue a PhD as well. So, and that's very common. You don't need to return back to Pakistan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such an insightful session and the response.
Thank you so much. The next I have is Bisma.
Hi, Maryam. So thank you. I have two questions to be precise, and I wanted to sort of be able to connect the two so that you can just respond both of them together. So the first one was, what if you're looking to apply to multiple programs for like different degrees, and does that sort of influence how your application is considered for one, for any of the programs that you're applying to? That's that. And then the second question that I had was like, there are different time periods when different programs sort of open for applications, right? So how do you then really like, because I believe that because each program is sort of catering is being catered by 3-4 universities, who should be your consolidated point of contact to just keep a track of everything? I believe the catalog is good, but then there's 1,000 websites that you have to switch between just to understand when to really look out for the application. So those are the two things that I was hoping you could sort of guide me through.
Okay, very good questions. So first of all, the question that you have about applying to multiple programs. Like I said, you can apply to multiple programs, and every program that you apply to, they will not know whether you applied to different programs. So that does not impact your application in any way. You can obviously will then have different personal statements, different reference letters for each master's program, but that definitely will not impact your chances either positively or negatively for any program that you're applying to. And then for the second, you're right, there are lots of deadlines that you have to be careful of. What I did was, first of all, I'm a bit of a type A personality, so I did have like an Excel spreadsheet. And I had like a list of the programs that I wanted to apply for. And then the university that you're applying to is the host university. So every program has one host university, and whether you're going into that host university's website to apply, whether you're applying for the actual program's website, so for instance, the Global-MINDS website, that will lead you to an application through the host university. And so every contact that you have, if you have any question, if you want to ask the university something, then all of that will be done with the host university. So for instance, my host university is in Ireland. So I sent my application to the university in Ireland, not to any other university, but they have this whole consortium, right? They know that if you're applying to a program, then you're applying to all of these universities. And then if you're applying to multiple programs, you should probably have like a list of the different when the applications open and when they close. And that's really helpful because most of them are open right now. Global-MINDS is open right now. And then they end at different periods as well. So for instance, sometimes it might end on like the 5th of January. Another program might end like, maybe in the start of February. So having the list, I would say, is very helpful. And then all of your coordination will be with the host university.
Okay, great. So, right. I mean, I think the list does really help. So I'm going to, but like my point of contact for any program applying to will be the university, the university through which whoever is sort of really like starting with the application point is basically where I should be contacting. So for example, for universities hosting, then all of my questions should be directed towards them.
Yes, towards the host university. That's right. I hope that answers your question.
This was really helpful.
Okay, thank you. Munazza?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Achha, so Maryam, my question is this: like right now, I'm doing my bachelor's in artificial intelligence from Fast University, but I also wanted to continue a start. I also wanted to just start a fresh new bachelor's from abroad. So should I do that or not?
So you want to do a bachelor's?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay, so the Erasmus Mundus is just for master's programs. For bachelor's, I do know that there are a few other programs that you can apply to. So in AI, I know that there's also the Turkey Burslari program, but that is not for Erasmus. Erasmus, it only has master's programs for people outside of Europe. For people within Europe, then they can apply for like a bachelor's exchange program through Erasmus,
Okay.
but this one is only for masters.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Aisha?
Hi, Maryam. Okay, I have a question. If we are in our end of semester in BS, so can we apply in our last semester, even if we have not finished our degree?
Definitely, yes. In that case, then you won't have your degree, right? You won't have your final transcript, but you should, from your university, you should get an interim transcript, which is your transcript for all of the courses that you've covered up till now. And then you should have like letter of expected completion which basically says that okay, this student will complete her degree by this date, and then you can apply. And when you apply, you once you graduate, then they will ask you to send in your actual degree and your actual transcript.
Okay, okay, thank you. Got it.
Okay, I don't think there's any other questions, right?
Yeah. Guys, do you have any other questions? If not, I do have one, Miriam. We got it on another platform by a participant. Okay, so the question is that which format are the recommendation letters accepted in? Is it a link that is sent to the professor directly, or are you supposed to be the one who's uploading them?
Okay, so that also usually varies by program, but usually it's that in the application form that you're sending to the university, you give them the email addresses of your references, and then the references will get an email to upload the reference letters themselves. So you're not going to be uploading them, your actual references will be uploading them. But then there are some programs, a few programs where you have to upload the reference letters yourself, but then they have to be like properly signed by the reference. If the reference is uploading it themselves, then in most programs they don't need to be signed. So that's the difference.
Thank you for addressing that. And another question that I had was that is it possible that the university adds some additional requirements to the program? So you know the program has all the requirements mentioned that you need to get in order to meet for that. Is it possible in some cases that there are additional requirements from the university that need to be addressed later on? Or are they consolidated in one form on one application as a platform?
Okay, no, they probably will not add any requirements later on. Whatever requirements they have will be on the program page, and specific university. So for instance, you're applying to the host university, right? So the host university, it might have separate instructions, but that will not apply to you if those instructions are not in your Erasmus program, because the host university does kind of differentiate between applicants applying for an Erasmus program and applicants applying for a general, other degree in the host university. So there might be different rules, different requirements, but if that requirement is not on your Erasmus Master's website or their list of requirements, then you don't need to follow that.
Thank you for addressing that. And the last one I have is, I believe in some programs you are supposed to show a letter proving your residence in a particular area, right? So is there a specific template that you're supposed to follow, or is it a generic letter that you get signed by, your area council or whatever authority is at the level?
It really depends on the program. My program, it just said that you need like a proof of residence, and that could be anything. It doesn't have to be a letter signed by anyone. It could be a bill. It could be like your house electricity bill or a package that you received that has your address on it. So they just need a document or kind of proof that you are actually living where you are saying that you're living. So usually an official letter signed by the authorities is not required, but if your program says that for proof of residency we need a letter signed by this council, then obviously you will have to do that.
Thank you for that. Okay, so the last question that I have for you is, can you address some challenges that you personally experienced during the application process as well as during your Erasmus journey? Like, what should be the things that a participant who is applying, a prospective participant, should be mindful of? Because I think, so basically, I'm a sister-to-sister scholarship alumni. So whatever challenges the past participants may have faced, that is a question that is asked to you in an interview. That is basically, they assess you based on previous participants' experience. So can you address any of those, personal journey or whatever you heard from other participants as well?
Definitely. So for difficulties, I'll start with like the very start, right? So when I was starting to apply for a program, I was very lost. I mean, honestly, I did not know where to start because the Erasmus website in specific, it's very confusing. If you don't know how to navigate the website, you can get lost in it. But a thing that really helped me was I contacted someone I knew who had been to an Erasmus master's program. And so I asked them, and they kind of taught me how to navigate the website. They taught me that this is the catalog, that you shouldn't go through filters. So what I told you about the catalog, that's what I learned from them. So if you just open the website just randomly, it's very difficult. So you really need advice from an alumni. I mean, at least it was like that for my situation. And then after that, the programs, I would say, was a bit of difficulty because the programs, they're not like simple programs that we have in Pakistan, right? They're not just like a master's in business, a master's in psychology. They're very specific. So it was hard for me to grasp what I will be studying in a program and whether doing a specialization at the master's stage would be really helpful for my career. But thankfully, like the websites that they have, they're very helpful in kind of giving you an idea on the courses that you're going to study, on the career prospects that you will have. So that honestly helped me a bit in that aspect to actually understand कि मैंने पढ़ना क्या है, right? कि like what actually am I going to be studying? Because it's like global mobility, inclusion, diversity. What is the actual degree? So I think going deep into the website, it does help in giving you an understanding of what the program actually is. And then during the application, honestly, keeping consistent is very difficult. What I would do is like I would write a little bit of my personal statement and then I would leave it for like a month. And then I would come back and then erase everything, write everything again. So that was a bit difficult for me, I think, keeping consistent. And that is also something that I've heard from other Erasmus applicants, that just sitting down in one place and completing the application in one go is just really difficult. So you really need to pace yourself, you need to time yourself, and you always need to be careful of your deadlines. So keeping a track of your deadline was a bit difficult because like we also got this question that there's also different programs and they all have different deadlines. So I think keeping track of them is a little bit difficult. And then because you don't get any notification, right? You don't get any notification that the application has opened or that it is being closed. So please hurry your application. There's no such thing like that. You have to be kind of responsible of that on your own. And then I think after I submitted the application, like it was very easy. The process of submitting it was very easy. There was no difficulty in that. The interview also went pretty good. And then the actual like difficulty, it really started when I was actually applying for the visa, because in most Erasmus programs, they don't tell you the requirements for a visa. They don't tell you that, okay, you should go and apply for a visa right now, otherwise it'll be too late. They don't tell you stuff like that because everyone is from different countries. Not everyone needs a visa. So the university or the program will probably not help you in those aspects. You need to have a timeline on your own. And that timeline is usually formed by contacting other alumni, other Erasmus students who are going to the same country that you're going, people from your program, people from different programs. So connecting with them, contacting with them is really important because then they can tell you that, okay, guys, you should probably apply for your visa. And this is how you apply for your visa. This is how to write your email. And so a lot of the time in my experience, I would have already applied for the visa. And then 1 month later, the program would contact us saying that, okay, guys, you should apply for your visa. Otherwise, it's probably too late. So it was not really helpful, right? You have to have a timeline on your own. You need to make sure that you're clear on what things you need to get done in order to get the visa. So what documents you need. Sometimes the embassy, the list of documents that it has, there it's missing a few, right? You need a few more documents. If you go in with the list of documents that they have on their website, they will probably say that no, we need this and this and this. So that's why keeping in contact with other people is really important, whether they're new students, future students, or alumni. So I think those were some of the main difficulties that come to mind. And then after that, it's honestly just all on you, your responsibility. When are you booking your flights? When are you applying for the visa? When are you kind of preparing, doing your modules, pre-masters modules? There's also some programs that offer that. So it's all just on you. Don't expect the program or don't expect the university to spoon feed you that you need to do this, now you need to do this. You need to be responsible of your own process. So yeah, I think those were some main difficulties.
Thank you so much for addressing that collaboratively and for also addressing some of the later concerns that can face, because that was a question in my mind that I do not believe there is a central body or, like some representative council which is dealing with all the Erasmus students who are, traveling from Pakistan in general, if I say. But I do believe there are some Facebook or LinkedIn or other communities, social handles that do help with that. So I would also request that please do share that with us as well, and we'll be forwarding to the participants as well, because visa process can be really, really taxing for someone who's just traveling, and it can also be really imitate. So yeah, thank you for that.
No problem. Like you said, there are a few Facebook and WhatsApp pages. For Facebook, there is Erasmus Mundus Association, Pakistan Association, something like that. And there is like a page for future students. So students who want to apply for an Erasmus, they can join that group. And over there, they do discuss deadlines. They do discuss that, you should get these documents attested. You should get these documents prepared. So those groups are also really helpful after you get accepted. So for your visa, keeping you in track with your deadlines. So definitely. So this was one group that I was a part of, Erasmus Mundus Association Pakistan. And honestly, once you are part of one group, then you're a part of 100 different groups, because then you get a group from that group and then a group from that group, that okay, there's a group for this program, there's a group for this program, there's a group for Pakistani students going to this country, there's a group for all students going to this country. So once you're a part of one group, then that will probably give you like a chain link of groups to get into, and then the more information that you can get for your own help.
Thank you for that suggestion. That's a great advice, and I do believe our participants will be working on that as well. Guys, do you have any other question? If not, we will be wrapping up the session.
Yeah, I do have a last question. Is the recommendation applied by the teacher himself or emailed by the teacher, or the applicant applied with the application?
So it really depends on the program. Like I said, some programs, they ask you to give them the email of the reference, and they themselves will send the reference an email asking them to upload the recommendation letter. Whereas some programs, they ask you to just upload the letter yourself. But in that case, the recommendation letter should be signed by the teacher. So it really varies on the program.
Okay, thank you.
If that is all, we will be proceeding with ending the session. Maryam, thank you so much for taking out time, and thank you so much for addressing each and every query in detail with personal experience. I believe you addressed some of the points I don't even think we had in our mind that this is a challenge that can be faced, or, because you are right that the Erasmus Mundus website in general is quite hard to navigate. And also about the visa process, that was a tip I personally did not know, so that helped a lot as well. And yeah, so guys, this was a session on Erasmus Mundus Scholarship Info session. And Maryam, we will be contacting you about your social handles as well, and please do share those as well. And I think our participants will be able to reach you via LinkedIn. And any other information that you may have, please do share that with us as well. And thank you so much for your time. It was a really great session.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Like I said, if there's any issues, then you can contact me on LinkedIn. There's also my email on the slides. I'll send the slides to you as well. And so you can contact me on email as well. That's fine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was an honor to host you. And we're looking forward to collaborating with the future as well. So, and also best of luck for your future because I think you are doing some amazing work spreading the message about the program as well. So, yeah, best of luck for your future as well. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in and for participating in this session. We have more sessions planned in the future, so please do follow us on all our social handles, which are mentioned. I've also dropped the link for the WhatsApp community that we have. All the recordings, information about the additional sessions, as well as the speakers, contact number, contact handles, social handles with their permission will be shared there as well. But please be mindful about contacting them. Please do not bombard them with questions and all that, and be mindful of their that they do also have a life. So that is one concern that sometimes arises. But I think we're going to be pretty great, and you guys were amazing audience. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.